The other one as well. Okay, go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Classroom to Career, Expanding Pathways in a Changing World webinar. As many of you may or may not know, my name is Grayson Mentz, the Deputy Director of People and Culture at Dr. Interested, and my pronouns are he, him. So, I would just like to ask everybody, how are you guys doing? You guys staying warm? Are you guys happy? You guys excited to be here? You guys can put a little reaction in the chat on how you feel. But I hope everybody's doing good. Right now, I want to pass it off to my co-host, Sean Veer.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you guys. I'm Sean Veer, one of the financial coordinators at Dr. Interested, and my pronouns are he, him, and I will be your second host for today's webinar. We warmly invite everyone to turn on their cameras if you feel comfortable doing so, as this does help us create a more engaging and connected environment for a discussion, and we love seeing all your faces and sharing this experience with you guys. But we're here today because we care about making the world the best place for kids to grow up in and achieve their dreams. And we believe that everyone has the power to change the world. Yes, everyone here. Before we begin, we would like to thank the Learning Planet Festival for having us here today, run by the Learning Planet Institute and its partnership through UNESCO. Dr. Interested as an organization is also a member of or supported by Imagine Canada, the Government of Canada, Local Canada, and Caritas Canada. Now I'm going to pass it back to my co-host to explain what Dr. Interested is.
So, just a little introduction to who we are. Dr. Interested is an internationally recognized youth-led pre-medical organization that allows students to explore vast opportunities through advocacy and research within the medical field, enabling them to find their unique spark through interactive programs and leadership development. Because Dr. Interest is based in Mississauga, we'd like to say a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge this land, which constitutes the present-day city of Mississauga, as being a part of the treaties and traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat and Wendat nations. We recognize these people and their ancestors as people who inhabited these lands since time memorable. This city of Mississauga is home to many global indigenous peoples. We believe it is important to step towards reconciliation. To learn about traditional territories of indigenous people, if you want to explore more about where you live or other parts of the country where your friends are from, there's a link in the chat to nativeland.ca, which is a great link to check out. Now, I have the pleasure to introduce today's webinar speakers. Adil Mukti is a public speaker, youth advocate, and change maker. He leads initiatives that empower tens of thousands of young people, including founding and serving as the executive director of Dr. Interested and contributing to the Play to Heal movement. He has supported youth-focused research and policy, written recommendations presented to the Future Sport in Canada Commission, and spoken at international and national conferences and forums. He is truly passionate about mentorship, research, and leadership, and aims to create opportunities for youth to innovate and lead. And to our second speaker, Marwan Amiri. He's a coordinator at Dr. Interested in the finance department and a biomedical sciences major at York University, as well as a TEDx speaker and in Canada's 50 Changemakers Under 18. Marwan is a dedicated motivational speaker and advocate, consistently looking to uplift and change the mindsets of youth. But before we begin, I do want to bring up a major topic about this webinar: AI and education. Now, these two things share many things in common, and one aspect is that they are constantly changing, growing, and supporting tools and ideas. So I'd like to hand it off to Adil to tell us more about this topic.
Yeah, thank you, Grayson, for such an amazing introduction and for such an amazing job as the youth MC. I want to start by grounding this in reality for a second. I'm Adil. I'm the founder and executive director of Dr. Interested, and honestly, this topic is personal. I'm still a student. I've gone through the system. I'm going through the system. And I keep noticing both in my own experience and in the experience of the youth at Dr. Interested across Canada and globally that there is more than one path to every career, that there is so many ways to explore, but we need to be given that chance to explore. For years, school has been built around the idea of one path, one linear path to one career. And that's changing. Right now, youth are exploring so many different careers before choosing one. And our education system is not keeping pace with the current state of career development that's necessary. Right now, the education system is still largely rewarding memorization in an era of AI, standardized tests in an era where stuff is automated and single right answers, where ChatGPT just writes lines and lines of code. But the world that students are entering now is truly going to be shaped by AI, by automation, and by rapid policy shifts. What matters today is adaptability, critical thinking, digital literacy, ethical decision making, and collaboration. That disconnect is where the skills gap actually begins. And it's not even evenly distributed. Access to AI literacy, digital tools, and emerging fields depends heavily on your school, your postal code, and your family income. Some students are learning how AI works, how it affects healthcare, how it affects public policy, and how to use it responsibly. Others aren't realizing these pathways exist. At Dr. Interested, that's the gap we're trying to close. Because talent is everywhere, opportunity and exposure are not. Now, what's striking is that students and workers already feel the shift happening. They know they're falling behind not because they're not capable, but because the system wasn't built for an AI driven world. Our education needs to keep pace. Memorization cannot be prioritized over real world skills because these soft skills are what truly matter now in an era of AI. And we need equal access across equity deserving groups. From a policy perspective, this means early intervention has to go beyond tutoring, it has to go beyond mentioning, it has to include proper career guidance, mental health supports, and structured exposure to real world applications of AI and technology while students are still forming their sense of identity. We need these flexible learning pathways. Now, one thing I want to emphasize is this. Students aren't falling behind because they lack ability. They fall behind because systems aren't designed around individual needs. In an age of rapid technological change, we have the technology to help individuals, yet our rigid curricular, high pressure assessment models, and outdated teaching structures disengage students who learn differently or think creatively. Through Dr. Interested, I've seen students who struggle in traditional classrooms thrive once they're who struggled in the traditional classrooms are thriving once they were exposed to research, healthcare innovation, and policy work. So, from a policy standpoint, this is about a redesign, not small fixes. Education systems need to actively include youth voices when shaping AI and education policy. Now, I'll pass it over to Grayson.
Thank you so much, Adil. And those are wonderful statements that mean a lot. So, when looking at education, sometimes the system doesn't support each and every student, and sometimes it can even fail students. So, I just want to pass it off to Marwin to kick off this discussion and tell us more.
Thank you so much, Grayson, for that amazing point. And yes, my name is Maiwan or Maywan, however you want to call it. I'm a professional keynote speaker, motivational speaker. And here I am today talking about how the system sets the youth up for failure. Now, education is still built for a job market that no longer exists. We look at every single job, most jobs, the education factor is completely and utterly overweight on the basis of the job market. People educate themselves for so long, but the job market does not understand that. They educate themselves for years and years, and yet they don't have a job. And even when people look and try to seek help, the support systems are so fragmented and hard to follow understand, and analyze that people get left behind. And I just want to picture an example here. Imagine someone is 22 years old, fresh out of university. They left their parents' house and now they're trying to find a job. We go back to the first point. The job market is completely and utterly broken. The system is broken and now they don't have a job. And now, at the end of the day, the cost of living is so high, they don't have a house. And imagine a 22-year-old is still considered a youth. That person's voice is tokenized and not valued. We need people, we need the youth voices to be valued, and that unfortunately is not the truth today. And finally, the get a degree phenomenon. We have all heard it before. You have to get a degree and then you'll find a good job and then you'll have a good life. Well, the reality is that a degree really means nothing if you can't have a job, and a job really means nothing if it's so hard to get. So that's a big problem today, a big problem that we face and a big problem that we are trying to resolve. To add on to this very, very good point, we have obviously some real life examples. Now, there's two examples here. It's called the unpaid internship trap. I'm going to give you an example of a person that I knew. Her name is Olivia. And Olivia is obviously a youth, right? And she's offered an unpaid internship. And she's really excited. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I did it. I got an unpaid internship. But at the end of the day, she realizes that now she can afford to get food, water, transit, rent, all out of the array of something that is, quote unquote, a very good opportunity, but really leads to nothing most of the time. And by the way, the youth that have money, the wealthier youth take these opportunities at the end of the day, and the low-income youth cannot. Number two, the educated but unemployed. It goes back to the last point that I said on the last slide. Someone can educate themselves for years and years, university, master's, PhD, doctorate. They can have every single achievement, every single academic accolade, but at the end of the day, they don't have a job. The job market is so bad, they can't find a job. And not only do they not have a job, they didn't have the experience of paid placements, internships, or real industry exposure before they were in that job market. Now, we understand the problems. The problems a lot of people could be saying, Maywan, I understand the problems. I really do. But what are the solutions? How can we fix it? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the solutions are simple yet difficult to follow, are very, very precise yet very, very complex. Number one, we have to make the career education in schools mandatory. People, the youth need to understand what type of jobs are there, how they can get them, and what they can do to get them starting from a very early age. We can guarantee paid work experience, much like companies, I'm sure, are doing in Canada, and much like countries, I'm sure, are doing like Singapore, guaranteeing paid work experience, not just to trades, not just to healthcare, but to every single job market in the world. We can redefine entry-level positions and make them so that every single time that someone has that position, they're able to gain unlimited, inevitable experience from it and become the person that they want to be starting from that entry-level job and then rise up. We can fund youth-led programs, meaning that if someone has created an initiative, a program, an organization, we can fund that to the highest degree, meaning that not only they can succeed in that, other people can succeed from that organization, and then that effect will continue for a long time. Finally, we can make living wages and housing affordable, and we can make policies in a way that make it so that even if you are not very, very rich in terms of financial stability, you have the ability to have a roof over your head, even if you're 21 or 22.
Thank you so much, Maiwan, for the deep insights on this. And I do believe that we need to implement such solutions within our systems in order to promote change and to promote youth to actually achieve their goals and to reach the careers that they've always dreamed of. And as you've seen, early exposure can always have a profound impact on the success that today's youth can achieve, as it equips them with crucial opportunities and knowledge while also breaking down many barriers of entry within many careers, such as the unpaid internship barrier being posed towards low-income students. And I would just like to pass this to Adil, who will further elaborate on this.
Yep. So, like Chandra said, early exposure really does change everything. When young people see careers up close, especially the ones they're passionate about, they're far more likely to pursue them. And the data backs this up in fields like healthcare, emergency services, and many others. Lack of exposure creates hesitation. Students don't opt out because they're uninterested. They opt out because those pathways feel invisible or unreachable. And this is something we've tried to personally tackle at Dr. Interested. So before we jump into solutions and programs, I want to pause for a moment and actually listen to the youth. These aren't my words. These are real opinions from young people in the Doctor Interested community. Students from different countries, different systems, different backgrounds, but the themes are surprisingly consistent. One student told us that teenagers don't want to be treated like kids. They have the ability to work, volunteer, study, and still have time to be human. And they want to learn the things school rarely teaches: how money works, how laws work, how the world actually functions. Another youth said something that comes up a lot: delete unnecessary syllabus, normalize part time work, normalize independent projects. Right now, so much of school is built around grades instead of growth, around memorization instead of knowledge. And students feel that disconnect. And the one that stuck with me: students ask for curricula that actually show how broad careers are. And so many students ask for this. And from a policy perspective, this matters. Youth aren't asking for less rigor. They're asking for relevance. They're asking for trust. They're asking for systems that recognize their capacity instead of limiting it. And honestly, if we're serious about expanding pathways, youth voice cannot be an afterthought. It has to be part of the design. The solution here isn't abstract. It's programs, it's institutions opening their doors earlier. Some of this already exists, but it needs to be developed so much more. When universities and public institutions create these pathways like medical exposure programs, STEAM initiatives, and paid learning opportunities, the impact is immediate. And from a policy lens, think of it as an investment with a long-term payoff. Early exposure reduces unemployment, it improves workforce readiness, and it changes how youth feel when they leave secondary or post-secondary education. At Dr. Interested, we've seen that when youth are trusted with responsibility early, they rise to it every single time.
Thank you, Adil and Maiwan, for the great insights and great information. I think I'm going to pass it off to Grayson.
So now we would just like to ask Adil and Marwan just a couple of questions before we continue. Um, so my first question is for Adil. So what does a meaningful youth voice look like in practice? I mean, beyond the advisory councils and consultations.
Yeah, thank you, Grayson. That is such an important question right now. And for me myself, meaningful youth engagement really does look like including people. It isn't just sitting on a council or filling out a consultation form. It's about being trusted to make the decision, having our ideas actually implemented and not just heard, and being included at every stage, from planning to execution. It can look like youth-led projects in schools funded by people who are willing to have youth led change. And it is really just being included throughout everything and having that seat at decision making tables where our perspectives actually shape something.
That's that's a very good statement to that question. I completely agree. And so I just have my second question. This one's from Marwan. So my question is, how can schools normalize, alternative pathways like skilled trades, healthcare, and entrepreneurship without devaluing the post-secondary education system?
Mhm. Thank you so much, Grayson, for that amazing question. And of course, It's a question that rings true with every single student in the world today. A lot of students are not necessarily passionate about what they think they want to pursue. And if they could just have that passion to the highest degree, it would be very, very good for them. I would just say, understand what you are passionate about, understand what you want to do. A lot of times schools have those opportunities. You just have to seek them out, and you just have to look at them, kind of examine them, and make it work. If you work hard, if you stay obsessed with what you want to do, even the alternative pathways like trades and things like that, as long as you are passionate, you will make it work. And schools, even right now, have opportunities. But of course, in the future, we are all working together to make it have more opportunities and to make students understand what they are passionate about, how they can get into that, and how they could do it for the rest of their lives.
I mean, again, these are all just wonderful statements. And so right now I'm just going to quickly pass it off to my wonderful co-host, Sean Veer.
Yeah, so I also have a couple of questions. So starting off, I have a question for Aldo. So I believe in your segment, you didn't mention that there was a gap within the education system, the curriculum, what the school is actually teaching, and the actual experiences in the real world and actual careers. So you did mention on preparing the youth for the future. So if there is one policy that you could change tomorrow or in coming days to close that gap, what would it be and why? Why would it be the most impactful?
Yeah, definitely. If I can change one policy tomorrow, it would be to integrate some sort of mandatory hands-on life skills or work experience programs throughout schooling. Things like financial literacy, mental health, leadership, and real-world internships, and things that would help bridge the gap between school and the real world by giving students the practical knowledge and confidence before they graduate. So think of it as some sort of service project or some sort of opportunity to actually lead and to learn, to utilize AI, to utilize different resources out there and learn about careers, about mental health, and whatever they need to get that sort of in real world experience in. And so I think that would be the one policy change that I would implement there.
Thank you so much, Aldo, for that. And I 100% agree with you. When students are faced with actual opportunities to showcase their learning in projects, that's when they'll actually be prepared to use their knowledge. And now I just have a quick question also from Alwyn. So you did mention about AI literacy, how AI is becoming a rising thing, and it should be a responsibility for people to learn how to use it to adapt to this changing world. But based on these experiences, what would be the risks if governments did not make this part of the curriculum, or if an individual did not get familiar with AI?
Mhm. Wow, wow. That's a beautiful question, yet such a dangerous question because it rings true with so many people today. A lot of people do not know AI or do not know many things about AI. If governments do actually fail to implement AI literacy in the curriculum, the risks will honestly extend far beyond a simple skills gap, far beyond someone saying, oh, I know more about AI than you. Basically, the governments do risk creating something like a two-tier society. And what I mean by that is a two-tier society is somewhere where only privileged students will understand and benefit from AI. In tutors, specialized courses, etc. Without AI literacy, the students that are not necessarily rich or that are not necessarily privileged will lack the critical capacity to understand something that is so important. In that, they will also lack the capacity to identify bias, protect their privacy, and understand how automated systems influence not only decisions in healthcare, employment, trades, etc., but also in life in general. And this will also weaken participation in democratic functions like voting. It will increase economic inequality, and it will leave the workforce reactive rather than resilient. And just to kind of finish on that point, Neglecting AI education is basically like neglecting a hurricane coming at you. You can maybe push it off, you can delay it, you can forget about it, but one day it will hit very, very strong. And when that day hits, there is absolutely nothing that you can do about it. I feel right now we are in the cast of that hurricane, and that hurricane is coming full speed, and we need to do something drastic, immeasurable, and fulfilling right now about it.
Thank you so much, Marlon, for the information. Honestly, I do agree. AI is going to be a rising opportunity, and those who fail to implement it or learn it, they might unfortunately just be swept away and be cut off from opportunities. So just to end off, many people talk about the change that young people have been making within society. But as we've seen though, and within this presentation, we've seen young people can only be the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers in society if they're given the opportunity to apply their knowledge and hands-on learning and learn crucial skills to adapt to future situations. And here at Dr. Interested, we pride ourselves on trying to help the younger generation and youth prepare for future careers and always adapt. To help make a difference with us, you can help join Dr. Interested and support us with career education initiatives that help youth have the necessary skills, exposure, and confidence they need to succeed and enter the careers of their dreams. You can also check out any information from us at our website at drinterested.org to learn more about the roles we offer and the initiatives we run. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And in the end, as advocates, we can together work together to bridge the gap between education and employment to build stronger and more inclusive communities